Good afternoon, St. Andrew Christian Church. I'm here to talk about worship this coming Sunday, in particular the sermon that will happen in worship. We started this last week, the theme of spiritual resiliency, and started off with the story of the woman at the well and some of the prep work that we need to go through to prepare ourselves for spiritual resiliency, some of the skills that enable us to work through and maintain vitality in stressful times. This week is an interesting take. The theme is finding space for God is the theme for the sermon this week, and we'll be looking in the 14th chapter of Matthew. And this 14th chapter is really a remarkable chapter in Matthew's gospel. You may not know this, but the entire chapter 14, for the most part, is one day in the life of Jesus. And there is a ton of stuff that happens to Jesus in that day. There's three major stories that happen in Matthew 14. And the interesting thing is my scripture passage is not any of those three passages in terms of the major stories. My passages for Sunday are going to be the passages in between those stories. It's kind of like the story in between the stories. And we are going to look at those little transition phrases or transition verses between the major stories that we see in chapter 14 of Matthew. And we will discover in that unfolding, in those in-between verses, some spiritual resiliency practices that Jesus models for us. Typically, when we look at a passage of Scripture, we look at a particular story, we look at the beginning, look at the ending, and then we call it quits and we reflect on that particular story. And so we are kind of widening the lens and pulling out from one story and looking at a broader piece and looking at some of the crevices and cracks in between the stories, and we will find these little jewels that will help us create space for God in meaningful places. And that creating space for God is one of those tools of spiritual resiliency we need as people of faith. So I hope you'll join us on Sunday as we dive deeper into the resiliency theme and what it means for us as followers of Christ. Join us on Sunday.